You're back with another one. This time we got top 10 anime where the main character gets betrayed and becomes badass. And this is by VinnyTube, as y'all should know. VinnyTube is goated out here. And it's been on playlist for a long time. So we're finally getting it out here. And yeah, let's get it started. Bro, I need season 2 of Vinland Saga.
Oh boy, do we have our hands full today. So I'm going to cut to the chase. Today we're going to be going over some of my personal picks for anime where the main character gets betrayed, then becomes a badass. I know. You'd expect the list to be chock full of revenge fantasies. Now, originally, I'd actually thought of making a list of purely revenge stories, but I changed my mind. I don't think that we should limit the shows to that specific subgenre, so I decided to expand the scope a little bit more to feature characters who underwent betrayal, only to use that as motivation to become stronger. As they always said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? But before we start, I'd like to share some good news. We're just a little over 150,000 subscribers before hitting that sweet 1 million subscription milestone. Let's give a round of applause to everyone, and I'd like to encourage you to share the channel to your friends and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It does help me a lot, and together we can...
All right, let's get to the list.
Most
oh my gosh, bro. How you gonna say I'm not gonna limit it to, to revenge, and then you start off the list with somebody whose whole MO is revenge? That's all he cared about.
Of Healer starts the list at number 10. Now, being a healer ain't easy, you know. In online games and fantasy worlds, one wrong move and your entire party gets wiped. One mistiming and the entire raid is lost. While healers carry such a heavy responsibility, their skill set also makes them very high in demand and unfortunately prone to being taken advantage of. Kiaru's bright future as the world's...
I'm be honest with y'all. In every video game that has like a party system or like you know, you have a support, you got assault, you got blah blah. I always want to play assault, but I ended up being the healer every time. I don't know why. Like every time. Team Fortress 2, I was the medic. Overwatch, I was the guy with the necklace with the like floating balls. You can like heal people and then like send extra damage to people. And yeah, I was that guy all the time. And I killed that role too. I was so good at that role. I don't remember the character's name. It's been forever since I played Overwatch, but like still.
Greatest healer never materialized. Instead, he ends up on the path of torture and abuse. But fortunately for him, he has in him the greatest ability of all time. A healing spell so strong that it allows him to wind back time. Carrying the anguish of his past, the time for vengeance has come, and it's going to be one hell of a show. Redo of Healer takes some of the popular elements in revenge fiction and takes the more controversial aspects to the extreme, pushing the limits of what can be shown on TV with its violence, shock value, and its sexual content. But needless to say, I'll put in some content warnings here for those interested in watching it. Now, before we continue, I'd like to give a shout out to great RPG soundtrack that written forcing the down.
My Redo of the Healer was freaky.
If I recall, there was a saying that goes something like, he who fights monsters should be careful lest he turns into one himself. Well, it's not a perfect analogy. I think that pretty much sums up Ari Fureta's premise, specifically for our protagonist Hajime's character arc. Sent into an isekai world with the rest of his class and getting the overlooked transmutation ability, resident geek Hajime finds himself betrayed by his classmates. Sent down into the abyss and left alone to die, he barely clings on to life. He struggles to survive and becomes stronger by fighting ferocious monsters, only to meet the vampire Yui. Together with her, Hajime looks to find his way back home, starting the tale of an ordinary boy's journey to become the world's strongest. Like Redo of Healer earlier, Ari Fureta made some noise back in his days. This time, it's mostly for the memes regarding the CGI. However, once you look past the admittedly hilarious graphics, Ari Fureta ends up a pretty entertaining piece of popcorn entertainment. If you're up for gloriously overpowered protagonists with a supporting cast that makes the squad look like some kind of edgy Konosuba, then this might be the show for you.
At least it's not like a full CGI. Like it's just the monsters and the bullets for some reason. But it's not like full CGI. There's still some 2D in there.
Next up is hit light novel adaptation Stigma of the Wind.
Okay. Never heard of this. He said it's a whatever Konosuba. Is Konosuba like the godfather of Isekai or something? Like what's going on here? Why is Konosuba so like regarded? Is that the first Isekai?
If you were around
Should
during
I
the
watch
late
that?
2000s
Is that
and
like
saw
a
Stigma of the
necessary
Wind,
watch?
I wouldn't blame you if the show reminded you of Shakugan no Shana. However, past the red-haired female lead with flames and the romance, the two shows are actually quite different, and it all starts with the premise and the main character. Stigma of the Wind introduces us to Kazuma, who's been sent into exile after losing a fight to his second cousin. Now that's a top-tier stereotypical Asian family right there. Jokes aside, Kazuma's actually talented at something. Nope, it's not flame magic, which he's absolutely terrible at, but it's actually wind magic. It proves to be a curse as a series of murders involving wind magic has Kazuma in the crosshairs of the Ganagi family and said second cousin Ayano. It's a fight for survival to clear his name and unravel the mystery of the murders. Just like Ari Fureta before, Stigma of the Wind features an overpowered light novel lead. However, Kazuma's more of the hiding your true powers type, and I'd have to say that his interactions with Ayano are pretty entertaining. The visuals alone can put the show above Ari Fureta, but I think that the story also ends up being quite interesting.
Honestly, if y'all was to have this is a question of the day, I'm gonna just throw that out there. The question of the day: if y'all were to have any elemental power, what element would it be? I want to know. My element, I'm between earth or wind, because those are both very deadly. As Last Airbender showed, wind can be or air could be very deadly, and you can fly. But then earth, it's all around you. It's in everything. You go outside, you're like, let's step outside. Then they're like, bet. They throw up the hands, and then you just throw up a rock. There you go. They dead. A boulder. A rock is too small. A boulder. You can throw a boulder.
Literature, and what better title to represent the idea of a hero getting...
Or you can shape the earth. You can literally make a canyon right next to him. You just be like, you know what? Snap your fingers. A canyon's right below them. They fall in. You have a pillar come up. And then they're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And you'd be like, yeah, you messed with the wrong one. You messed with the wrong one. See, that's... I'm choosing earth. I'm choosing earth. Just to flex.
To become stronger than Gankotsuo. The Count of Monte Cristo is probably the quintessential story about a person being portrayed and coming back stronger, so it's a no-brainer that an anime based on such book is on this list. Gankotsuo generally follows the story of the source material with some deviations. However, what I find the most striking about this show is its unique presentation. The art's already an eye-catcher, and while it may take a while to get used to, it gives the show its own unique look and appeal. While the adaptation style is loose, I'd say that the actual execution of the plot is still intriguing enough to keep me invested in the revenge story at hand. With the Count of Monte Cristo becoming a legendary title amongst the revenge stories the world's seen, it's a given that Gankotsuo will have high expectations. I'd say that the story passes those expectations with flying colors, and I would vouch for this series. This is one of the shows that went under the radar, but the series is completely worth your time.
Oh my god, this look kind of gross. I'm not really messing with the animation, color design.
On a list like this is Shield Hero. The way I see it, Shield Hero is the series that popularized the subgenre to the mainstream, and I'd say that the anime community couldn't have picked a better show for it. Shield Hero stars Naofumi, one of the 4 heroes summoned to defend the kingdom against waves of monsters. His promising journey starts off quite rocky, being framed for crimes and being shunned by his fellow heroes and citizens. Left alone with only his companion, the demi-human slave Raftalia, the two set forth on a journey of redemption in order to protect the kingdom of Melromark. I earlier claimed that Shield Hero is one of the best revenge series, but I meant that in terms of putting the subgenre on the map. It's not the best story by a long shot, but it's got a lot of little things that ensured its success. A sympathetic lead, a nice fantasy world, an easy to follow plot, and lots of cool and cute character designs. I know it's a bit polarizing, but I also really enjoy the dynamic between Naofumi and Raftalia.
You got different shields?
Next up is Yona of the Dawn.
I need to watch Shield Hero. I need to watch it. I need to add it to my list at least so I can know what I gotta watch it.
We've seen this story before now, haven't we? Sheltered princess living a life of luxury before an internal betrayal turns that world upside down, sending her life spiraling into a living hell. While that happens, said princess starts to see the kingdom for what it really is as her horizons get broadened during the seemingly impossible quest to regain the throne. It's not the most unique of stories, but if there's one thing that managed to make that premise work so excellently, it's Yona of the Dawn. It's a great coming-of-age adventure that showcases some amazing art and a very captivating storyline. It also helps that the characters, down to the side characters, are well developed. perfect. Yona herself is a great protagonist that people root for, and I think that she plays the role of the naive heroine who gets an eye-opener very well. Due to its genre and the nature of the plot and characters, I'm not really surprised that the series isn't so mainstream. However, I do urge you to give this a shot. You won't regret it.
Honestly, it looks like her growth from this alone is like massive.
The top 3 takes us to the chaos of
That's
the
my show.
Prohibition era.
That's my show. That is my show. I love 91 Days. If y'all ever decide to watch 91 Days, bro, you're going to enjoy it. You were definitely going to enjoy it. Why is she looking so thick right there?
It's pretty refreshing to have such a Western aesthetic in anime for once, and I feel that it's rare for anime to cover some historical periods in America.
Why would you run out if you... I don't even remember the situation, but I'm assuming that they ran out trying to protect their mom, and then that was the one who's like, no, you're going to die, and then they died, and then he ran and escaped and survived and came back to get revenge. See, that's the whole plot. He's coming back to get revenge for the people who killed his family. So...
like the Prohibition era. The lawlessness and the anarchy of the era is made all the more evident with the start of the story, which sees Angelo's family being murdered by the mafia. Now, as we all know, tragedy only fuels the fire in the heart of the survivor, and young Angelo leaves the town and rechristens himself Arvilio. 7 years later, he finds himself back in town. With vengeance in sight, he quickly encounters a member of the mafia family responsible for his family's death, and thus begins the first step to his 7-year plan of finally exacting revenge. Overall, 91 Days is a gripping thriller about a man's path to vengeance. It's a blood-stained path that will keep you in suspense, and you'll find yourself wanting more and more as the plot unfolds. I really recommend this show, and amongst the others on this list, I think that this is one of the most underrated shows out there.
It's crazy how I love mafia shows. The 2 best mafia shows I've ever seen, Gangsta and 91 Days. Completely different. Completely different. Gangsta is like one of those, like, oh, he's outside the mob. The mob's really not that bad. We're just kind of like trying to keep order and stuff. We just kind of do what we got to do. He's out, but these guys are outside the mob because they're just so strong. We can't really control them, so we might as well befriend them. 91 Days is like, oh, okay, let's see what you got. We are terrible people. We are the mob. We are terrible, awful, horrible people, and you want to join us? Cool. Like, let's see what you got. Oh, you're betraying us. Oh, that sucks. That's pretty much the difference between the 2. Like, I love both shows though, not equally. I like Gangsta more. 91 Days was fire though. If they had a season 2,
is one of those series that's transcended generations. It could be due to its sheer boldness in depicting violence and the more unglamorous side of anime, combined with beautiful character writing. Whatever the case, Berserk's been immortalized in the anime community for good reason. These days, some people clown Berserk for the 2016 adaptation, but when you put that one aside, you can see a story that is legitimately good. Berserk has carved its way to immortality due to being such a gripping story about survival, betrayal, and the reality of battle. It has a lot of cathartic moments and showcases a whole slew of tragedy and redemption for our characters. If you're looking to get into Berserk, I'd suggest watching the 1997 series. For me, it's one of the best adaptations of the source material, and it has 25 episodes worth of content for you to enjoy the story. It's toned down compared to the manga, but it still gets its point across fairly well. I'd also recommend you watch the 3rd Berserk movie, which I think adapted the Eclipse really well.
No, I'm good on that. I really don't want to see the Eclipse. I've seen enough of the Eclipse.
We proceed to 2nd place with fan favorite Vinland Saga.
Definitely fan favorite. I need some more of that in my life right now, as soon as possible.
It's unlikely that you're going to need an introduction to this epic journey that chronicles the story of Vikings. Vinland Saga, it seems, has been on everyone's watch list since it debuted a few years back. I would say it does deserve it though. Vinland Saga takes us back in time as it chronicles the journey of Thorfinn. A promising youth, he finds his world embroiled in chaos with the death of his father. The culprit, the notorious Askeladd. They say that you should keep your enemies closer, so Thorfinn finds his way into the squad of the mighty Viking leader, hoping to one day exact revenge on the man who killed his father. In the midst of war and destruction, will he ever get that chance for sweet revenge? Vinland Saga completely deserves the praise being showered by it. It's suspenseful, thrilling, and will always keep you on the edge with its action scenes. It also helps that the show is amazing in terms of characterization and development. Definitely a recommendation.
This is not a Vinland Saga specific video, So I'm not gonna say my my specific theory for the next season, but I do have a video where I talked about my theory for the next video. It's gonna be right there above my head. Um, but just a quick recap. I'm pretty sure he's gonna still be on his revenge tour, just differently now. For those who've seen the show, I'm not trying to spoil on a top 10 list.
Considered by many to be one of the best anime, not just in modern times, but just all time generally, I think that not a lot would argue Attack on Titan's placement on this list. The show that sent shockwaves through the anime world that can still be felt today has all the makings of an animated masterpiece. It just amazes me how it manages to weave so many character stories, shocking twists, and foreshadowing together to create a series that will be remembered.
Bro, that shit gotta hurt like a lot. Like in Naruto when they and then they do the summoning jutsu, they just bite their thumb. That's gotta hurt. But literally grabbing a knife and it just that's gotta hurt so bad. I'm like, is it really worth it? Can't you do somewhere that doesn't hurt as bad? It's any injury. You don't like it's any injury. You really don't have to do the palm of your hand. You could just go like real quick. You can just nick yourself somewhere. Transform. You don't gotta go palm of your hand just because that's your whole palm. That's gotta hurt. I'm sorry, that's gotta hurt.
It started out as a show about fighting monsters that captivated audiences due to its subversion of the usual anime tropes, but then it became very political and philosophical. It takes quite the genius to come up with a mix of those genres and make it work, but the madman Isayama did it. You also get to admire the character work and the underlying themes of the series, something which I tackle a lot on my other channel catered to my video essays. The link for that's in the upper corner. Love it or hate it, Attack on Titan is an amazing series that will endure the test of time, and I can go to any length as to why it's such an amazing series. Action, drama, a constantly evolving and immersive plot, it's just got everything, and that's why it's my #1 series featuring a main character coming back stronger after betrayal.
I'm surprised that the cast didn't like all get evaporated, eliminated like like in the beginning of the show. The cast was like all the kids, and then it was like, oh, these are grown adults. They're about to handle it. Eviscerated by that one female Titan. You know, again, not trying to spoil on a top 10 list, but I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it at this point. But hey, if you haven't seen Attack on Titan, click off the video now. It's almost over. Just you're not gonna miss much. It's just spoilers. All right, bet y'all should be gone. Once Annie like destroys all those people, like all the scout regiment, I was just like, oh, nobody's safe. Okay, that makes sense. Not a single person is safe here. So I was really actually kind of hyped when I saw that like Annie and not Annie, all the other people are just still alive at the last season, except for Sasha. Pour one out for my fallen homie Sasha. I miss you, Sasha. Man, I'm gonna go cry. I hope y'all enjoy it. I miss Sasha. Like the video, comment, subscribe, join the Sad Boy Army. I'm out. Peace.